Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram.
you remember the story of Chaitanya Charitamrita being smaller books? He translated it all, and then he was waiting for the BBT press, those devotees, to, you have to do a lot of preparation work to publish a book once it's written, right? It has to be edited, you have to put together all the Sanskrit, you've got to, and Prabhupada wanted all of his books, paint with the paintings, he wanted them illustrated, indexing, it's a lot of work to put together a book. So finally, after about 3 months, they had one ready. And Prabhupada said, no, you have to do this more, I want these published. And Rameshwar, someone at the press said, he says, we can do 2 more books in 2 months. And Prabhupada said, no, all 17 in 2 months. He said, that is my order. And Rameshwar said, that's impossible. And Prabhupada famously said, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. In other words, nothing is impossible for Krishna, right? And nothing is impossible for Krishna's direct representative. So those devotees worked so hard, and they did it. They published all 17 volumes of Chaitanya Charitamrita in 2 months. The artists were going nonstop. They were just like in shifts practically. It was like 24 hours, different shifts of devotees coming in, and so it was done. So you were talking about, Prabhupada's intent on his books. He was very, very strong intention on not only on distributing his books, but you have to remember they weren't even ready. Because I remember when I was a devotee, we would get the Bhagavatams one at a time. When I joined, Cantos 1 and 2 were done. And so, after a while, another month, another one come out, and we got now Canto 4, Part 2, or Canto 6. It was really exciting as because we hadn't heard a lot of this knowledge. It was all new to us. We heard the general philosophy from Bhagavad Gita, etc., but all of these different stories, pastimes, and the elaborations of the philosophy were coming out new and fresh. And so we were actually very eager to also distribute these books and give this knowledge to everyone. Anyway, we're going off here. Let's get back on. Okay, what are the instructions of Vanacharya about his books, lectures? Oh, where do we find those instructions? We find them from his books, his lectures, his conversations, his letters. You know how many letters Prabhupada wrote? At least that we have archived? 4,000 or 5,000 in 10 years. Prabhupada was a prolific letter writer, and he didn't need email and Facebook to do it. He was, writing actual letters. Or mostly he dictated, and his secretaries would type them out and send them. Personal instructions, and we're very fortunate that we have all of this material, right? We have so much of it, etc. Like personal recollections, things like that. So we have all of these instructions of Srila Prabhupada. Now, we talked about intent, context, instruction, and now issues. What are some of those issues? Well, we talked about the idea of divorce. That was just an example because that was one I thought of. What did Prabhupada say about that? Women Diksha gurus. That's an issue we're facing now that we're not really quite clear on. There's differences of opinion. Relationship between GBCs and national councils. This is something that we're still struggling with. How do all this fit together? Are local areas independent and autonomous, or how do they connect, with the overall management? So there's so many issues like that we're dealing with. And when the GBC is dealing with these issues, at least attempt to, what is the first source of information that we try to use? Yeah, Prabhupada. We try to say, what was Prabhupada's instruction? Yeah.
We have a senior devotee here, and someone asked him about gay marriage. He said Prabhupada never had gay marriage in his group. But again, you have to look at it within the context of times. Back then, you weren't even out,
Yeah.
alone talking about getting married. And I think that possibly you would have to consider what he would think. Like he would consider that.
Well, he did make some statements. Prabhupada generally was not in favor of it.
Yeah. But again, it's in the context of the times.
Yeah, and Prabhupada took context in time, place, and circumstance into account several times. I'll give you, since you brought this up, I'll give you an example. But Bhadin Maharaj told me this. There was a devotee, I think in Southern California, who was transgendered way back when that wasn't very popular at all. And he was, I forget whether he was a man, he wanted to be a woman, or a woman wanted to be a man. Anyway, they brought to Prabhupada, and they, first they said, well, he's going to do this. Prabhupada said, all right. And, and now he's changed. Now he wants to go back the other way. And Prabhupada said something like, he said, just decide. Don't go back and forth, man, woman. She says, just pick one and do it. In other words, in some ways, it wasn't that important to Prabhupada because it is all our bodily designation. And the main thing is, get your bodily designation together and become Krishna conscious, chant Hare Krishna. So, but at the same time, Prabhupada also was very cognizant of Vedic society, Varnashram, the rules, of civilized life, basically. So, anyway, those issues. Those are the kind of issues that are difficult to deal with now because sometimes we don't have such clear instruction and really understand Prabhupada's intent fully on issues like that. So that those are the kind of issues we're talking about where there can be disagreement. All right, now let's look at the second generation. That's Prabhupada's immediate disciples. They may be missing the intention, and that's what we're talking about. Sometimes, even though we heard Prabhupada's instructions, and sometimes we were even there, or we knew the context, we don't always know what Prabhupada's deepest intention was. So, the intention of the founder is not directly present, can be reconstructed by instruction and context. Now, see, so in other words, if we take Prabhupada's instruction and we place it and we know the context, we can get a good idea at least of the intention, right? Or more idea. So if I happen to see an instruction, Prabhupada said to this devotee, you can get divorced, but I know the context is Prabhupada said, well, he'll do it anyway, and then he'll cause offense to his spiritual master, so I have to allow it. If you know that context, then you can know his intention was not the divorce was good, but sometimes if a devotee was just determined in that way. So that's the idea of reconstructing instruction and context. So many things that we do like that. Now, some are very obvious. Prabhupada's basic philosophy and teaching, when Prabhupada instructed us we're not our body, we don't have to go back and find out, well, why did Prabhupada say that? When did he say that? Because he said it hundreds and thousands of times, over and over, right? The scriptures say it over and over. So those are the things that aren't really so critical. In other words, even if you look at all the different groups and different Gaudiya groups and this group and that group and everyone who says that they're a devotee of Krishna and they may be part of Iskcon, not part of Iskcon, they may be against Iskcon, but most of them believe they're not their body and that Krishna's God, right? I mean, in other words, it's so the basics aren't the problem. It's usually the application of how we take the philosophy and the basic principles and apply them in the material world, in the particular setting, the particular country. That's where we have the issues. And so we have to be very careful not to go astray and miss Prabhupada's points. Okay? Now, and we often have to argue. Sometimes there's disagreement on those. Sometimes being stifled, sometimes people feel like their opinion isn't heard.
What's that word, stifled?
Stifled means, well, like, well, they're saying this and I can't express my opinion. That's what stifled means. Your ability to express yourself. The third generation is missing the context and intention because they weren't there. They don't know why Prabhupada said what he did. And they can reconstruct that by the memories and association with direct disciples. That's one of the reasons why it is important that many of Prabhupada's direct disciples, they wrote books, right? Biographies of Prabhupada, Tamohara Prabhu wrote all his volumes of his memories while he was Prabhupada's servant. Sri Kirti just wrote a book. Many did, Tamal Krishna Maharaj. In other words, you have those memories and also, of course, all the videos of the memories and like that. So by the third generation, by hearing that, can get an idea of what Prabhupada's context and intention were. Now, by the fourth generation, it's missing the instructions, the context, and the intention. And that needs to be reconstructed by relevant system of education. In other words, if the instructions aren't known and aren't clear, then we have to really work on educating the devotees. So as we go down to the fourth generation, which will be a lot of your children, or the next generation coming down, there's going to be a point when they're not even clear. And I see this sometimes, some of our young people, even some of the third generation, not really clear on what Prabhupada's instructions were. And they sort of kind of like start making things up, right? Or concocting ideas, or thinking, well, it seems like this would be the best thing to do in this circumstance. Sort of speculating on, well, this seems reasonable to me, but they're not taking into account Prabhupada's instruction. And that can be reconstructed, that can be learned through education. Right? Okay, I'll give it that. What are some of the ways that younger devotees can, through education, understand Srila Prabhupada and his instructions? Reading Prabhupada's books, that's number one. Simply reading Prabhupada's books, you are going to be hearing his instructions on every page, right? So number one, reading Prabhupada's books. How else? Hearing lectures, yeah. Yeah, you can hear Prabhupada directly speaking. We have that. Several thousand lectures we have. Yeah, taking courses, disciple course, other courses, other seminars that focus on Prabhupada's instructions. Yes, systematic education and opportunities to learn more about Prabhupada's instruction. Very, very important. That's kind of, I think, this is sort of the takeaway from this presentation, that if we don't study Prabhupada's books and we lose his instructions, we're certainly going to lose the context, and then we'll lose Prabhupada's intention. We won't be clear on what Prabhupada really wanted, and we come up with so many other ideas. Well, you think, well, Prabhupada would have liked this or like that, but no, we need to really know what it is. Now, just one thing just to add to this is, you might say, well, what about 40 years later? Are we in a different time and place? Well, yes. And senior devotees, gurus like that, they try to preserve Srila Prabhupada's instruction, get the context and his intention, and apply them to current situations. So sometimes there might be, we'll do something a little bit different here, a little bit different there, according to that circumstance, but always with the aim of fulfilling Prabhupada's intent. Okay? I mentioned this before. Bhaktivinoda Thakur talked about the difference between I just went blank. What was that? What were we talking? Between principle and details. Okay? So, is chanting your rounds every day, is that a principle or a detail?
Principle.
That's a principle. We don't change that. What would be a detail? Not quite sure what a detail on chanting might be. That might be changed. Well, actually, Prabhupada changed the number of rounds. And he originally told his disciples chant 64 rounds. We can't do that. And Prabhupada said, all right, 32. And then, we can't do that, Prabhupada said, all right, 16, but that's it, no less. So the principle was chanting the Hare Krishna mantra systematically, chanting japa. The detail was how many rounds. And so Prabhupada changed that. Now, but because that was so strongly emphasized by Prabhupada for all the time Prabhupada was with us, every initiation, everything, always emphasized that, never deviated from that, you must chant 16 rounds. Would you say that now for us is a principle or a detail?
Principle.
See, that's how a detail can kind of move to a principle if it's something strongly emphasized by the guru like that. So in other words, a new guru in Iskcon say, well, Prabhupada changed it, I can change it, I'm just going to have my devotees, my disciples chant 4 rounds. Or we have one spiritual master who's a Prabhupada disciple who is not within Iskcon, by the way. He's independent, not within our society, we have no control over him. He asked his disciples how many rounds they want to chant. And, that's an easy way to get disciples, isn't it? Let them do whatever they want. How many rounds? You're like, oh, 3, that sounds good. Try to do more, but no, that's not the way it works. Spiritual master gives instruction, and we have to follow that instruction and come up to that. So there's where he's losing the intent of Srila Prabhupada completely and changing. So that's the problem. And that's kind of the bottom line, why this is so important. Because if we're not clear, things will start changing. For myself and other members in the GBC and Prabhupada's disciples, I'd say that's our number one fear. The thing that we're most concerned about is when we're all gone, will it all change? Will the movement change? Will instructions change? Will Prabhupada be relegated to just an interesting historical figure, you know, and we might lose this wonderful philosophy and instruction and standards that Srila Prabhupada gave us that have been so powerful. That's what has really made Iskcon work. Prabhupada established 100 temples. Now there's 700 temples. So in other words, Prabhupada's energy is continuing, right? We're not doing it. It's, you know, because of Prabhupada, you know, but to the credit of the devotees, they're following Prabhupada, and by following Prabhupada's instructions, they are successful, right? So, you know, just as Prabhupada followed exactly the instruction of his spiritual master, if we all follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions and you all follow instructions of your guru on down disciplic succession, then we will be successful. And if not, we start changing everything, who knows? Okay? All right. I only do 2 or 3 of these rants a day, so that was number one. I'll try to. This is kind of, you may be interested in this. In the heels of this, the ILS, by the way, is the International Leadership Sangha, which is in Mayapur every 2 years, and the GBC puts it on, and we bring leaders from all over the world. We had like 800 to 1,000 leaders come to Mayapur. We do like dozens and dozens of seminars and meetings and all sorts of educational events and also spiritual events and parikrama, you know, everything, chanting. And so at one point, because the devotees in the Organizational Development Committee is the group that's putting a lot of this together, I'm on that committee, is organizational development means how to try to have a strong, healthy organization and what we need to do to make this Iskcon organization prosper and grow. So we had this reading survey out of interest, and there were 750 devotees in the audience. This was at a plenary session, and about 259 completed. We don't know why the others didn't, probably because they were a little embarrassed by the amount of reading they did. So this was about how much do you read Prabhupada's books. Now remember, these are leaders, and they were average 19 years in Iskcon. These aren't new people, mature people who are leaders in our movement. Okay, 260 of them. We found the average amount of reading that over 19 years, they read the Bhagavad Gita 4 times. 130 devotees had only read it once or twice. So you can see people are reading, but not that much really, is it? I mean, if you've been a devotee 20 years and you only read Bhagavad Gita once or twice, you could probably step that up a little bit, I would think. Average amount of times devotees who read the first canto was about almost 2 times. And the first and second canto, 1.5 times. And reading the entire Bhagavad Gita, the average was once. Most devotees who've been around several years have probably read the whole Bhagavatam at least once. And Chaitanya Charitamrita, less than once. Nectar Devotion, almost 2 times, etc. Okay, so we found this kind of interesting. We assume that the more senior leaders would probably be reading Prabhupada's books a little more than that. You know, so we're a little bit concerned that people don't seem to be reading so much. Now I know people are very busy, and in fairness, now I know, like myself, I don't sit down and read the whole Bhagavatam through. Usually I'll read a section, you know, so not everybody reads like that. You know, some people just read a chapter, read a section like that, and study different places. At any rate, so this was important to us because Prabhupada really emphasized this. Prabhupada said GBC member means that they see that in every temple these books are very thoroughly being read and discussed and understood and applied in practical life. Your first job should be to make sure that every one of the devotees in your zone of management is reading regular literature, discussing the subject matter seriously from different angles of seeing, What good are many, many devotees if none of them are knowledgeable? Okay. So Prabhupada wanted us to all read his books, and he wanted his leaders to make sure the devotees were reading his books. To emphasize that, so that's another reason I'm doing this, because as a GBC member, I feel a little guilty that I need to take more responsibility to encourage the devotees to read Prabhupada's books more. Okay. Okay. Anyway. Jai Prabhupada. You must all study very scrutinizingly all of the books, so when the need arises, you can repeat in your own words their purport. Okay, I think that's enough on that one. So any thoughts or questions on this?
Yeah, we have videos, books, and all those things. But still, the next level, like you know, yeah. What are the things you done? What are the difficulties you faced, and what are the steps you took to improve this, spread this Krishna consciousness? If we can put it in a video or books, it will help us.
Okay, so what is, let me try to understand exactly what you're saying. You said, what is the next step? Or what
Next generation, like you know, who are there with Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Instructions will be very straight. There is no deviation. People like you who are with Prabhupada can, write books or put in videos how difficult you face. What are the problems
many
you face.
devotees have. Many devotees have written many books about their experience with the Prabhupada and Prabhupada's instructions.
Because I went to Atlanta, I see many devotees there. Really, whatever they say, it's really very strong messages, and what they say is true. But I didn't see those things in YouTube.
You didn't see those things?
In YouTube or anywhere,
Oh, okay.
That is because most of the GBC are people like me, who are probably in their 60s or approaching 7 years old, and we are completely illiterate about social media and how to communicate with younger generations of people. We're finally waking up and catching on. We have not been good at that. We don't use YouTube and Facebook and all these things very well. Now, some of our devotees are trying to do that. And in fact, I'm trying to work with some devotees here in North America, some younger devotees, about how we can make a much stronger presence, by, I'll give you an example. And a very nice devotee named Gopinath. He's the son of Bracha Bihari, who runs Iskcon Resolve. You probably don't know him. He's out in DC. He's probably about 25 years old. He's working on a master's degree in something in management or communications like that. And he works a lot with us. He's helped us with internet things and websites and things like that. And he was telling me, he said, when I was in college, he said, me and my roommates never read a book, ever. He says, not that they just didn't read a lot, they never read a book. They took everything off the internet, right? So this is what happened. And I was talking with our devotees we have a really nice preaching center in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where the University of Alabama is. And the devotees there, they're like PhD graduate students, and Neelam Bara is one. And they were telling me the same thing. They said, young people really aren't reading books. So he had this idea that when we give out a book, what he does is he immediately asks the person, he says, would you like to join our Facebook group? I'm saying, well, all right. He says, what's your Facebook name? So he just puts it in his phone. And then you send out an invitation to join your group. So he has an Iskcon, Alabama, or whatever it is group. And then he just gets all these names and he just communicates on Facebook when they have a special event or a big kirtan or something like that. And we've been talking about in the back of our books, we should have, well, first we're thinking about putting in videos, but people don't even do that much, with an actual disc. But you can get these, what are those codes called? QR codes or something? That you scan on your phone. We should put those in the back of our books. They scan one of those codes and it comes up and they can get a YouTube video about whatever. Meditation, yoga, vegetarianism, whatever we want to preach, talk to people about. So, okay, you say, why haven't you seen this? Because we're very slow catching on because we're a bunch of old timers, and we're not, and we're just starting to really learn about how to use the new social media effectively.
From now, whenever we have a gathering of, Prabhupada, have those videos uploaded.
Yeah.
Help us.
Well, they do to some degree. Like I know Los Angeles has a Prabhupada festival every year, Memorial Day, and a lot of senior devotees talk about Prabhupada. I think those are always out there. Those videos are around video. I think what we have to improve is our distribution methods, how to get the information out. I agree with you on that. Okay, I better not go too far.
Ask one more question.
Yeah.
When a disciple writes a book, does it have to be submitted to the GBC for content to be sure that it's under the umbrella?
Well, that might be a good idea, but we don't. I mean, at this point, we don't really have a system, and we've had some difficulty with some devotees who have written books that had questionable content, and then it becomes really a big issue, and then if we try to change it or stop it, we get accused of suppressing free speech and everything else. So it's a little tricky. The GBC at one point did set up a review board, but it's kind of voluntary. People would have to apply for it. But the point is, you've got to be a little careful because there's a lot of information out there, and like for instance, how many of you think that everything on the internet is true? I hope nobody raises their hand. So there's a lot of misinformation. There's as much good information and bad information out there. Fake news, yeah. Yeah, people just make things up, like our president. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so our point here is to preserve the legacy of Srila Prabhupada as our founder Acharya and preeminent Shiksha Guru. We need to be very attentive to his instructions. We need to read Prabhupada's books, and we need to focus on making sure that we understand Prabhupada's intentions. And your guru can help you with that. Your guru should know Prabhupada's intentions, know his instructions, and help you to know how to apply those instructions. That's one of the very, very important aspects of the spiritual master. The guru knows the intention of his guru. He knows the intention of Krishna, and will help you to take those instructions and realize them in your own life. Okay? Anything else? Yeah. Go ahead.
As you said that the third generation may lose the intention and contest.
Yeah.
But think that what we have realized in Vrindavan, because years together we are staying there and attending different devotees, they come and give classes.
Mm-hmm.
The third generation is more prolific on the subject matter.
Yeah.
Because they have read Prabhupada books, they have associated with his senior disciples, and they read thoroughly. As you said in the beginning of your time, you got books in what we say
here and there. Installments.
Yeah, and now they got all of it.
Yeah.
And they are working on that, studying it, and they are coming with profound things that we have seen in the meetings of the new third generation who have come up with. They are coming with the substantial decisions. They are coming with some wonderful programs and things.
If they're all doing that, that's
Yeah,
good.
they are working on that.
Yeah. I mean, when you say the new generation is doing this, let's say some are.
Yeah, some.
Not everyone is. Some are, and it's very. In fact, and by the way, one thing they followed up on this is Gauranga Prabhu from him from Chowpatty, and actually he's the president of the Eco Village north of Mumbai now, and he and his team put together a whole paper on how we can increase reading Prabhupada's books, how to increase that understanding. But I guess going back to our discussion about social media, I would say how we can increase hearing Prabhupada's instructions through books and other electronic methods. Because what's the difference if I have a book in my hand or if I have it on my tablet or something, reading Prabhupada's books, right? I mean, in other words, that doesn't make any difference. You're getting the same knowledge, the same instruction is there. We say books, but I would say expand that to all ways of hearing Prabhupada. Yeah. What's that? Oh yeah. Oh sure, you can find it. Yeah, the audiobooks are out there. All of that is there. Right. And all this helps us to connect to Prabhupada.
I'm sorry?
Eco living in the USA, do we have any
sites that we can find eco-living in the US?
Like a farm communities, which we're having.
Are there any projects like that?
Yeah.
Well, Live Vrindavan is working on it. We have an organization called Eco Vrindavan, and they've received a little money from some local sources, and they're trying to, develop that. We're trying to develop an eco village in Alachua. We've built the goshawl there, and also built some houses and structures, from like alternative methods. I don't remember all these straw built things, and all these different ways that are more ecological, more environmental friendly. So we're trying to do something again in Alachua, at least to show an example that people can come and see ways that we can do this. Gita Nagari is doing some things. Some of some of our farm communities, Mari Sevak in Tennessee, they're living very simply, milking the cows, growing vegetables, So we do have some examples. The Eco Village, Govardhan Eco Village in Mumbai is really, I was there. We had a GBC meeting a couple of years ago, and it's very advanced. I mean, they're really doing some very interesting things. It's so ecologically friendly that there's no air conditioning, which is really difficult when it's 100 degrees out. Anyway, but they seem to be able to tolerate it. Okay, now we're going to go back to our subject matter. That was actually, this does sort of apply to one of our earlier units on the first day. But today we have 3 units to cover. The first one is actually the last lesson in Unit 3, which is called Guru Tyaga. Then we'll go on to 2 more lessons, 12 and 13 today, which is about the relationships of devotees within our society and the relationship between different gurus and their disciples, etc. Now, this Guru Tyaga is kind of a difficult topic in one sense. This word Tyaga means, anyone know? Rejection. Tyaga means to renounce or to reject. So, rejecting or renouncing the guru, that sounds pretty heavy, doesn't it? Why would one reject one's guru? And we're going to talk about that, the principle of Guru Tyaga, when one might need to do that. Now, some people actually, some senior devotees questioned in the course, the devotees that developed this course, well, why are you talking about that? I mean, isn't that going to just disturb new devotees, telling them you might have to reject your guru when we're trying to get them to take a guru and, be excited about, establishing a relationship? My friend Anutama, who is one of the course developers, gives a nice example. When you get on an airplane in Jacksonville or Atlanta and you're flying to Phoenix, they say, in the unlikely event of a water landing, here's where your life, your life jacket is, here's where the life rafts are. Now, the biggest body of water between Jacksonville and Phoenix is maybe the Mississippi River or something. So, water, you're not going to go down in the water. They still say it. Why? They say, in the unlikely event, because that's what it is. And of course, sometimes you are going over the ocean, and sometimes airplanes do crash. It happens. Because usually they crash in the ocean from 40,000 feet. You don't have to worry about lifeboat because everybody's dead. But still, there are circumstances when you might need to know where that life raft or that cushion, that whatever that is that you're going to need. So that's what we're saying here. If by some unlikely chance, some unfortunate circumstance that you found yourself in this situation, we want you to be properly prepared. Okay? We're not expecting anybody's guru to fall down or to go away. We're not saying that. We're saying, but has it ever happened in Iskcon? A guru's gone away or fallen down? Yes. Unfortunately, yes. A few times. I mean, it has happened. So we have to discuss it. Because it has happened. Sometimes there are many, especially quite a few years ago, there were some very prominent gurus who had many, many disciples, and say in one country, most of the devotees were their disciples. They left, and it was disastrous. It's almost like the Iskcon and the whole country fell apart. It was very, very difficult. So we don't want anything like that to ever happen. You know, we want devotees to stay connected, devotees to stay strong. We want temples to stay strong. We want Iskcon to stay strong. So even though it's a little bit of a painful subject, we're going to at least discuss it a little bit. Okay? I just want to give that preamble, not like saying, oh, yeah, your guru may fall down. No, no, no. We're not saying that. I'm just saying, be aware that it has happened. And there are scriptural reasons that are actually in our scriptures of when you can abandon the guru. And also Prabhupada has talked about it. So can somebody read?
According to scriptural code, a teacher who engages in abominable action and has lost his sense of discrimination is fit to be abandoned.
Okay, if they perform abominable actions, which is a little unspecified, but okay.
According to various scriptures, a teacher or spiritual master is liable to be rejected if he proves himself unworthy of the position of the guru or spiritual master.
Okay, so according to scriptures, there are circumstances when the spiritual master could be rejected. Here's a verse. Someone read Mahabharata.
गुरोरपि अवलिप्सस्य कार्याकार्यं तज्ञानतः उपदा प्रतिपन्नस्य प्रतियोगः विद्यते. If the guru becomes attached to sense gratification, loses his sense of duty, and follows a degraded path, a path other than devotional service to the Lord, he should be rejected. Mahabharata Udyog.
So here's a specific scriptural reference that basically one stops becoming a devotee. If a guru somehow abandons the devotional path, then he can be rejected. Okay, if you look at Appendix 4 in your book, Standards of Conduct for Gurus, which is page 70. All right, this is your Iskcon law. And this is a general outline here. We're not going to read this all right now, but you should take a look at this. Standards of conduct required of gurus, according to Iskcon law, of how they should relate to the GBC body, to spiritual authorities. And there's even a section of different sanctions that might be there: probation, warning, suspension, removal. So, I guess without reading all of this, what would be some of the standards that must be maintained by gurus? What behavior expect of one who's taken the position of spiritual master in Iskcon? To follow instructions? Yeah. What's that? Should be the best devotees. What would be some of the types of things that would make them not follow or not being the best devotee? What are some things that might, very specifically, that would be against the proper conduct of a guru?
Deviating from the principles, what else?
Deviating from the principles. Yeah, and specifically, even the four regular principles.
Yeah.
Okay? So one cannot be a guru if they're not following four regular principles. Right? And that's pretty much a given. You know, I mean, you can't really be a disciple of following four regular principles, what does it mean a guru? Okay? What, anything else besides not following the principles? There's also the idea of philosophical deviation. If somehow or another, in fact, one of our scriptures says that one becomes a Mayavadi or becomes inimical to Krishna. In other words, if one went off on some other spiritual path against the principles of devotional service and Krishna consciousness, then you're not really a guru. Okay. Let's just go back for a minute. And also, there are different sanctions that are listed on 71. There might be a warning, probation, suspension, or even removal. Might read, this is what the Iskcon law says about when a guru could be removed. On the bottom of 71, it says, if a guru becomes openly inimical to Srila Prabhupada or to Iskcon, or otherwise acts demoniacally, and by the way, that was taken pretty much from the scripture, that's why that word is used, or becomes an impersonalist, Mayavadi, or preaches unauthorized philosophy of asampradaya groups against Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's principle, or blatantly and consistently defies Iskcon and GBC policies, or if a guru's attachment to sense gratification, now this is important, is prolonged, serious, or hopeless, then as per Shastric injunction, he shall be removed from his position as Diksha Shiksha Guru. So those are some of the circumstances that could be there when one would be removed from his position. My experience over some years in the GBC, and from what I know from before that even, rarely has the GBC actually removed somebody from the position of guru. Usually if they had some fall down, they remove themselves. I mean, most devotees have enough integrity. Say, I'm not qualified to do this, and they sort of remove themselves usually, is what's happened in most cases. Right. Okay. When a fallen guru may be rejected, that's what we just read. Okay. Hopelessly entangled sense gratification. No. This is a little bit different, isn't it? Okay, that's not the one I read. Can somebody read this?
If a guru has become hopelessly entangled in sense gratification, and it has been established by reliable testimony on his own admissions that he has been regularly violating the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness, and there is virtually no hope of his rectification, then the disciple should reject him and may accept re-initiation.
Okay. Now, it says may accept, and we're going to talk about that in a couple minutes. That's another discussion about reinitiation. So I'm not going to, we'll put that over here for just a moment because we're going to get to that in a couple minutes. What are some key elements here? Did you note anything that, in other words, what's important to look for in terms of rejecting a guru? What are some of the key issues here? Sense gratification, violating regular principles, but virtually no hope for rectification. So that's key here. In other words, not necessarily that somebody once had a problem, but then gets, just like we hear, and just as the Bhagavad Gita tells us in the 9th chapter, right? That even if one commits the most abominable activity, he's to be considered saintly because he is rightly situated. So that's the key, rightly situated. Just get performance and it's okay. It's not like they're considered saintly, but Prabhupada explains that if there's some fall down, but one becomes again rightly situated, then Krishna will protect and Krishna will help that devotee to continue the progress in devotional service. And we talked a little bit about that the other day, so we know it's true for all of us. We were talking about the regular principles. Sometimes there might be a fall down, but if one is sincere, one kind of, the American expression, you get back on the horse, if you're bucked off, you fall off the horse. I don't know if use that in India, but we say you get back on the horse. In other words, you try again. You don't just say, the horse bucked me off, it's all over. No, you get back on the horse and you try again. So it's like that. You resituate yourself, in Krishna consciousness, be with determination, and then Krishna protects. Krishna will protect that devotee and he will help us to regain our rightful position situated in Krishna consciousness. So read this.
If the spiritual master takes some demonic qualities and becomes inimical to Iskcon, it should be rejected and the disciple may take.
Okay, so demonic qualities becomes inimical to Iskcon. If someone really becomes, for somehow or another, becomes totally against Iskcon and against the principles of devotional service. I don't think I've ever seen that actually happen. I can't think of any gurus who became really inimical. I mean, I've seen devotees who became inimical, then later they made themselves a guru, but usually not the other way around. not so much. Anyway. All right, if the guru has fallen, how does Iskcon protect the disciples in the case of a guru who proves himself unworthy of the position by the above administrative laws and procedures? What should the attitude of devotees and actions be of the devotee? So on page 56, why don't you put down a few notes about what you think. We'll talk about this a little more, and we haven't covered it that thoroughly. Is that right? Oh. Okay. Okay, yeah, so I'm on page 54, okay? Isn't it? How does this going to protect his disciples? Yeah, on bottom of page 54, how does this going to protect the disciples in the case of a guru who proves himself unworthy of his position? It's a little bit different anyway.
56 is exactly the same as the second one.
Yeah, okay, so 54 is the first one. All right. So write down a couple ideas. How could the devotees be protected if a guru were to fall down? What are some ways that one could stay within devotional service, even if in a very unfortunate time one lost one's guru?
Go to your shiksas and surround yourself.
Great point. If you have relationships with shiksha gurus, with other senior devotees, they can help you and give you guidance. Very good. Heavy faith in Prabhupada.
Yeah.
Yes, faith in Srila Prabhupada. These were two great ideas. If you think back from yesterday and the day before, we talked this idea of Guru Padashraya. Remember? What were the three parts of Guru Padashraya? Taking shelter of the lotus feet of the Guru. Prabhupada, Shiksha Guru, and Diksha Guru. So those three are giving you spiritual support, right? So if you lose one, Diksha Guru, you'd have the other two. Let's see, we're coming back to that. This is why it's such an important point. Not only is it just a point, not only do you have these three sources of inspiration for Krishna consciousness, but if you have some difficulty in your life, you have these three sources of shelter. Ashraya means shelter. Okay? So, and we found this, that if devotees have other connections with senior gurus, or they don't have to be gurus, other senior devotees, people who act as their shiksha guru, devotees give them help and support, they can listen and hear from other devotees, and they take shelter through the Prabhupada. Then they'll probably stay all right. I'll give you an example that Radhanath Swami told me this. I had this long discussion one night. Everybody knows Radhanath Swami. Sometimes he loses track of time. I don't know if you ever experienced that. So I was staying with him in his cabin in New Vrindavan, this about 10 years ago. And he starts telling me, I didn't know him very well. So he's telling me sort of his life story. So and that's the life story went on about 1 a.m. So anyway, it was really nice. But anyway, we didn't make Mongol Arctic that day. So he was telling me when he was working under Kirtananda Swami, and Kirtananda Swami had him go to India, and he established a temple there, the Chowpatty Temple, the Radha Gopinath Mandir there, and there was about 500 initiated disciples, and they were all Kirtananda. Radha Swami was not initiating guru then. They were all Kirtananda's disciples. Then Kirtananda Swami is one of those that we're talking about who fell down. There are many, many problems with Kirtananda. I don't want to go into the history. You can Google Kirtananda, you can hear all about it, but don't. Not good for your consciousness. Anyway, major fall down. He's out of Iskcon. What happens to these 500 disciples of his who are off there in India, 8,000 miles away? Well, Ramaswamy had there, and he had worked with, and he had preached to and made most of these devotees. So he was basically their Shiksha guru, right? He was giving them Shiksha instruction. And he told me, but he didn't really emphasize that. What he told me was, from the very first day they were devotees, I always told them, you have to take shelter of Prabhupada. You have to follow Prabhupada, you have to read Prabhupada's books. So they had a strong understanding of philosophy, strong understanding of Prabhupada's position, and they were fortunate to have, a nice shiksha from Radhanath Swami. So they had those other two things, and he said it was 500, only one left. Like 499 out of 500 stayed. And they stayed in devotional service, and they just carried on. And then, of course, he reinitiated a lot of them, most of them probably later. But the point was, even in the very unfortunate circumstance of the fall down of the guru, because they had Shiksha Guru and they had Prabhupada, they stayed strong. So that's a real example. We're not just saying this theoretically. This is an example of how this can actually work. And other places, like I said, were disasters when the guru left because the devotees weren't really following Prabhupada so much. This is another thing that sometimes devotees, a new disciple, they're almost sentimentally attached to a guru. Rather than really through philosophy and just receiving the instruction, they get sentimental about the guru. And they're not really paying much attention to anyone else. They don't care about other devotees. And, Prabhupad's nice, but they don't really read Prabhupada so much or really care. It's not really essential in their life. It's like, oh, Prabhupada, he was a wonderful devotee, some historical figure, so nice that he made my guru a disciple, so I have my guru. That's kind of like sometimes how they think that way. And then if there's some problem with that guru, what happens to them? Very confused, it's very difficult under the best of circumstances, but if you don't have Shiksha and you don't have Prabhupada, you can be lost. Okay?
If that's the attitude of the devotees, that Prabhupada is just a historic figure, then isn't the guru not doing his job?
I wasn't going to say that, but yes. Well, sometimes a guru may even say that, and sometimes the devotees, sometimes I've seen new disciples who are very immature and they're understanding. And no matter what their guru says, they just take some very sentimental or immature attitude, or they attribute qualities to their guru which are not true. It's like, so in other words, one has to have not only firm faith in guru and have deep conviction to follow the instruction of guru, but one also has to be a little bit intelligent and realistic. You have to have a realistic view of the spiritual master, and understand that what they're primarily giving us is what? What's the primary function of spiritual master? To give us what? Krishna? Prabhupada, spiritual knowledge, Divya Gyan, right? In other words, delivering the message. That's the primary function. Now, that doesn't mean that we're impersonal, and we're cold, and we don't have a relationship. We can have a wonderful relationship with the guru. We can have great love for the guru can have great love for the disciples. That's all there, and that's really nice. That's, but that's kind of like the bonus, because the real thing is the connection with through knowledge, right? We're not to reject the fallen guru. This is important. This is the balance on this. Can someone read this?
If a guru is engaged in self-gratification, violating one or more of the regulated principles, but there is a hope that he can be rectified, then his disciples should not reject him, but should allow time for such rectification to take place. And they should take shelter of Srila Prabhupada as senior Vaishnavas as Shiksha Gurus.
Okay, does this sound reasonable? Let's say there's an accidental fall down. Material energy is so strong, it can happen to any of us. He has some difficulty, but if he's trying to rectify himself, like say, get back on the horse and reestablish his Krishna consciousness, in a humble way and are saying that, then disciples should just wait, and pray. Pray for your spiritual master, that they become strong again, and you can reestablish that strong relationship again. And at the same time, you have your relationship with Shiksha Gurus and Srila Prabhupada that also gives you strength during that time. Right. Reinitiation. Okay, this is a question that comes up, and honestly, there are senior devotees who have different feelings about this. There's kind of like two different thoughts on this. So, can somebody read?
Once Guru has fallen and giving chance for rectification, the devotee should take Diksha from unknown devotees and may take reinitiation from another bona fide Iskcon Guru. No, it is recommended but not absolutely required to take reinitiation.
All right, go ahead. Yeah.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of taking reinitiation?
Okay, so now when a devotee when a initiating guru has left, some of the disciples have taken reinitiation from another guru and some have not. So our discussion here is, what were the advantages and disadvantages of taking reinitiation?
If your guru is fallen and not coming back, wouldn't you be uninitiated then?
Actually, no. You're still considered initiated because we're assuming that the initiating guru was in good standing at the time he took initiation, so that link is there. In other words, you have that link there with the parampara, through Prabhupada on back to Krishna. So that's a very good question. I'm glad you asked that, to make that clear. That, no, you're still considered initiated. The devotee will still keep their name. If they're a Brahmin initiated, they can still go on the altar, etc., even if their guru has somehow left. Otherwise, yeah, you'd almost have to, because, so we don't consider that you're necessarily not initiated. Although there's another side to other ideas on this. What do you think? Would it be best for the devotee to take reinitiation or not?
I think it's that if you don't have an association of a senior devotee anymore, you don't have that close any Shiksha Guru with you. So it's better to go for the reinitiation and get
You think better? Yeah. Now, disagree or disagree? You think you should take reinitiation? Why? So you have that connection. And of course, that's the advantage. The main advantage is then you again have connection with a spiritual master who can give instruction, who can give association, who is living, somebody there that you can take shelter of. Would there be any reason not to take reinitiation?
Well, take it for the devotee also. The devotee is very serious. He already kind of has good exposure, good experience of Krishna consciousness. And he can continue without taking reinitiation.
Well,
Connected to Prabhupada.
yeah. And there was especially some older devotee may feel, well, I already have a good connection. I'm connected with Prabhupada. I'm connecting with my God brothers, God sisters, and senior devotees, and so maybe not needed. And I know some devotees like that who are fairly senior devotees now, whose spiritual master left, and they decided not to take reinitiation. They could become guru also. Yeah, but they could become guru even if they took reinitiation or not, I suppose. Technically you wouldn't in the presence of living spiritual master. One kind of interesting example is Bhaktivedanta Swami in Russia. I think he was originally initiated by Harikesh Swami.
Then
And then and when Harikesh Swami left, he took reinitiation and from Radhanath Swami. And I think he wasn't sannyas. He took sannyas from Radhanath Swami. But he is an initiating guru. He's very senior, very, very learned, very intelligent, he's a wonderful devotee. And he's the GBC of Russia and running, this huge thing. So I assume with Radhanath Swami's permission or his encouragement, he is an initiating guru. Even though he did take reinitiation from Radhanath Swami. Right. But that's a little exceptional. He's someone who probably has been around almost 40 years, very senior sannyasi. Yeah.
So would most gurus have gurus?
Would most gurus have gurus? Well, everyone would have a guru. A living guru, you mean? Not if Prabhupada's your guru. Most of the gurus now are Prabhupada disciples, and obviously we don't have a living guru. Prabhupada's gone, but the point is that you took initiation from a living guru, and you established that relationship. So even if, because you might think of it that way, what if the spiritual master leaves their body? Does a disciple need to take reinitiation? No, usually not. You wouldn't. So you can say, well, if they left, in some ways it's similar, but it's different in the sense that somebody might still feel that they really need to have that relationship and association and have that extra strength that's given by having the relationship with the current guru, the living guru. So, I would say this is the kind of thing that if a devotee in that situation is something to think about very carefully, to discuss with senior devotees, your Shiksha gurus or senior devotees that you respect, and maybe who know you a little bit, who can give you some good, can help you.
The guru is fallen down and you are not initiated. So please take care.
Oh, let's say, you were taking shelter of a guru, but you're not initiated, and then they fall down? Is that what you meant?
If the devotee is initiated,
Is initiated,
and the guru is fallen down,
yes,
and he is not reinitiated.
right.
Okay, so how is he going to go back to body?
Well, okay, well, that's what we're talking about. You could still go back to Godhead because you have made that connection, and you connected with the Parampara, you connected with Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and that line of civic succession will take you back to Godhead. In other words, and this is the important point, at least the interpretation that Iskcon has made, and I think is backed up by scripture, is that connection was bona fide. In other words, even though the guru later fell down, you are an initiated devotee. You've made that connection, you've established yourself, you're in the parampara, and so you are under that shelter. So there's not a problem there. It's more a matter of whether a devotee needs or desires or thinks it would be valuable to have ongoing connection and relationship with a living guru who can give them that guidance. If they feel they need that, obviously they should take reinitiation. Yeah. In most cases, I would probably advise most devotees to take reinitiation if their guru left, unless, as somebody said, they were very senior, been around 40 years, and maybe they don't really need to do that. They're very established. Maybe they're probably giving shiksha to others. They may even be soon ready to become guru themselves or whatever. So I think it may vary a little bit. But most people I would probably advise to take reinitiation. I know devotees who've done both ways. There's one devotee, very prominent devotees, senior devotees. Actually, he's head of one of our BBT departments, national BBTs, and he was in one of the most unfortunate circumstances that I've ever seen. He was in Europe. His guru fell down, like 30 years ago. He took reinitiation, and that guru fell down. He took reinitiation again, and the third guru fell down. After that, he gave up. He said, I'm just saying shoulder Prabhupada. And he's doing very well. He's doing fine. In fact, he's like I say, he's a very prominent senior leader. He's a very good devotee. But he tried. He took reinitiation. He did it again. I shouldn't even tell you that. I don't want to disturb your minds or anything like that. But these are realities, and you probably will hear these things, or you may come run across these. So know that. Now, we had a lot more problem many years ago, to be honest. Because what? Krishna's testing. Well, yeah, it's certainly a test for the individual. But we had more of this in the early days. A lot of our gurus were very young, in their 20s even, when they became gurus. They may not have really been ready for it, or they took sannyas when they were like 22 years old, prematurely, before they were really prepared for that. And so this happened. We don't have this happen as much recently. Just like many sannyasis fell down, the early sannyasis, a lot of them. But now we have a very strict system. First of all, you have to be at least 40 years old. You know, we don't want any 22-year-olds taking sannyas, you know, who, you know, aren't ready, you know, still too much sex desire, whatever, you know. Their family life has to be settled. They can't just abandon their families, none of that. They have to, and then they go on a waiting list for 3 or 4 years where they're examined by the sannyas committee and by the GBC every year, see what they're doing, how they're doing. So there's a very strict process now taking sannyas. And since we've had that strict process in place over 20 years, almost no fall downs. Our sannyasis have done very, very well since then. You know, so I think it's getting better and better. And many of the fall downs I think were due to young age, immature devotees, weren't as seasoned and, you know, been around so long, you know, and had to, because the fact of the matter is once you get to a certain age, you know, I mean, how much sense gratification can you enjoy? You know, most of us are just lucky if we can get up, you know, the next day and we're still alive, you know. You know. Okay. Any other thoughts on this?
So,
Yeah.
there is one purport in first canto, 15th chapter, 50th verse. That Prabhupada clearly gives indication for how one has to go back home to God. It says, when flying an airplane, one cannot take care of a plane, other planes. Everyone has to take care of his own plane. And if there is any danger, no other plane can help another in that condition. Similar, at the end of life, when one has to go back to Godhead, everyone has to take care of himself without help rendered by another. In that another, Prabhupada explains who are they. The help is, however, offered on the ground before flying in the space. Similarly, the spiritual master, the father, the mother, the relatives, the husband, and others can all render help during one's lifetime. But while crossing the sea, one has to take care himself and utilize the instruction formerly received.
So, yeah, that's Prabhupada said it's all a solo flight for us, ultimately, right? On an airplane.
Whether you are very highly elevated with Guru or you are with some Guru, but it's you upon how seriously you take the message and work upon that.
Yeah.
You may have very highly elevated Guru, but you are not following principle. You are not going back to God.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it depends upon the sincerity and seriousness that we have.
Another thing that happens is sometimes people think, well, how could a guru fall down? And nobody's asked that or said that, but you may be thinking that. If they're in this very advanced position, how can they fall down? But actually, this is discussed even in our scriptures. In the Nectar of Devotion, in one place it talks about some of the dangers or pitfalls or things to be aware of in the process of Krishna consciousness. And it's described that one can be very advanced, and it says in Nectar of Devotion, where one may have many disciples, but one may become proud of having so many disciples, and that pride could lead to fall down. So, in other words, Maya becomes more subtle. You know, in the beginning, it's gross sense gratification, but as we advance, then, you know, our attachments become more subtle. You know, subtle sense gratification is more in the mind, intelligence, and ego, right? Things like, you know, pride, prestige, and adoration, Prabhupada said. In other words, he calls it that subtle sex life. There's gross sex, you know, but on the subtle level, one has pride. One wants to be worshipped. One wants to be recognized. And so sometimes if a devotee we say it goes to their head, you know, you know that expression? In other words, you may start, I hate to say, you might start believing all the accolades and all the praise, and you start thinking, yes, I am actually very wonderful, rather than saying, I am receiving this honor, I'm receiving this service for my Guru and for Krishna. That's the mood of the Guru. I'm accepting on behalf of the Lord, accepting on behalf of my Guru. If you stop thinking that and start thinking, this is for me, and then you become proud, and then Krishna may let that devotee fall down, have the devotee fall down because of that pride. So I think that's what happens sometimes with devotees. In other words, they may become a little proud or just a little careless, because of being in some high position. So it's very difficult. It's like a real trap of Maya that we have to be careful about.
I think that when Guru says, I have 800 disciples, you have 2,000 disciples, the next becomes 1,200 disciples. It becomes very.
Yeah, most of them don't say that, but if you're thinking that way, it could be bad. That would be a source of pride. That's actually the exact example Nectar Devotion talks about those becoming proud of having many disciples. Yeah, can be there. Okay, a little thing also I'm saying about lodging complaints. What if you as a disciple just had a complaint or concern about your guru? Because why would that be difficult? Well, yeah, who do you tell? Yeah, what do you do? That's certainly part of the difficulty. What else? Spiritually, why would that be difficult if you had a concern or a complaint about your guru? What's that?
You cannot properly communicate to them.
It'd be hard to communicate that properly, yeah.
Guru is kind of our source of information. So that itself is, we are having conflict with it, and I don't know how we can.
Yeah, it's a very difficult thing. You're not supposed to have a complaint about your guru. You're supposed to be following the guru, right? Accepting the guru as good as God, right? So, but sometimes it does come up. So we're discussing that. First of all, any issues or concerns with the guru should be worked out appropriately and avoid offense. Never take an offensive or a challenging attitude. You'd always want to, approach in a very humble way. And then if you have an issue, consult with your temple authorities or GBC authorities, senior devotees. Ask about it. Maybe it's something you're not understanding right. Maybe there's another thing that you're not realizing, or in other words, get another perspective on it. Don't let something be in your mind that's bothering you, that you might be causing offense to the guru. So, in other words, talk about it with some authority, obviously, and if one Shiksha gurus. And if you really can't resolve it, we do have this organization called Iskcon Resolve, IskconResolve.org, and we have some very nice devotees, Braj Bihari and Brahmatirtha, who help devotees in a very confidential way. They work totally confidentially to sometimes intervene or work with devotees if they have an issue or problem.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Rather than name names, could you just make it to your devotees hypothetical?
Sure, absolutely. So I'm just concerned about this. I've seen this. What do you think? I'm going to say one or the other. Example of this. It's kind of a personal example. I'll say it anyway. My daughter, Jaishu Radhe, is initiated by Satchidananda Swami. He's from Germany. My daughter's husband, Malaram, is German, so he knew, actually, Satchidananda Swami used to travel when he was a brahmachari and stay at his mother's house when they had a traveling Sankirtan party. So when he was a little kid, he got to know Satchidananda. Anyway, long story. Anyway, they were his disciples, and they were at some retreat, some big seminars he was doing, and Satchidananda Swami, I don't know, probably you don't know him too much, he doesn't come to America much, but he's a wonderful speaker, very powerful, really enlivening, everybody loves him, gives great classes, great seminars, very deep. But they noticed that my daughter started becoming a little disturbed because he was talking all these things about Krishna and Vrindavan, but he wasn't really talking a lot about Prabhupada's mission, the Sankirtan, and like that. And of course, my daughter is very connected with Prabhupada. She's been raised her whole life, in Iskcon and Prabhupada, and this is, our life and soul. So she went and talked to him. This was before she got initiated, actually. She said, Maharaj, I just want to humbly ask one thing, something about it, and I know you don't seem to speak so much about this, or talking about Lord Chaitanya and Sankirtan and like that. And Maharaj, being a great soul, he always says, yeah, you're probably right, I probably should. And the next class he did. He changed, he started talking about Prabhupada's mission and all of that. So, she had a little doubt, but she approached, in a very humble way and just expressed that doubt. And it worked out. And it worked out well. Of course, she's pretty bold. I wouldn't always advise people doing that, but, anyway. So, okay, Assuming.
Also a test of his character, whether he receives it or not. He's prideful and.
Yeah, and he wasn't. He took it in a very humble way, and he took, because Prabhupada said we can take good instruction anywhere. He said, he gave the example, he says we can take instruction from the dog. What do we learn from the dog? Faithfulness, yeah, loyalty. Prabhupada said we can learn from the dog the quality of faithfulness or loyalty. So we learn from it, so an advanced devotee takes everything is somehow coming from Krishna. What can I learn from that? Right? Okay, can someone read?
Please always try to remember me by my teachings. We shall always be good. Just like I have written in the first publication of Srimad Bhagavatam, the spiritual master lives forever by his divine instruction. And it's like because I have always served my Guru Maharaj, Father's teachings, and now even never separated.
Jai Prabhupada. Okay, that ends our third unit. Now we are moving to unit 4, which is called cooperatively fulfilling the relationship and consolidation. Now, I do want to say that one of the main authors of this course are English. And so sometimes their writing reflects that kind of convoluted, stuffy English style of writing. So if you don't understand exactly what this means, I don't either. No, cooperative fulfilling relationship, that means the relationship between devotees and the relationship with the disciple, and consolidation means, summary of the course, our conclusion. So that's what this says. British English, yes. Yes. Rasa Mandala is one of these main authors of all these courses, and he always gives me a hard time about American English. He says, we don't really know English, we speak American, And I think I tell him, well, you speak this stuffy, convoluted, we have fun together. Presenting one's guru is chapter 12, lesson 12. We're going to talk about presenting Srila Prabhupada and presenting current Iskcon gurus. Now, when we say presenting, we mean exactly that. How do we tell others, how do we talk to other people about the guru? The concept of guru, about Srila Prabhupada, and about our own guru. It's an important topic, actually. Presenting Srila Prabhupada. Okay, this is from GBC Law in the section on Harinam initiation. Someone read?
Iskcon devotees shall instruct members to take shelter of Srila Prabhupada and to receive guidance, training and assistance from those who are practically and directly instructing them in Krishna consciousness. Iskcon members shall choose when and from whom they wish to request initiation. They must focus their attention on Srila Prabhupada as the founder Acharya and as their preeminent Shiksha Guru.
Okay, so we discussed this on the first day. New devotees first should take shelter of Prabhupada, first learn about Prabhupada and his teachings, then later they can focus on second initiation, their initiation with their guru, whomever they choose, but still understanding Prabhupada's position. Okay. So, I want you to get in groups and discuss this. The idea is, are we required to present the concept of guru when preaching? So you're talking to a new person, is the first thing you tell them about the guru, and they have to take shelter of guru, or when do you do? When is it appropriate to talk about the guru? When and why? And when you are presenting the concept of guru, to this is like, to the public at large, or general people you're talking to, do we present Prabhupada? Do we present the idea of all the current gurus, or do we present our own guru? Okay, so let's just quickly break into groups and take a few minutes.
You four here be a group, you four here be a group, you four a group, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we'll break up somehow. 3, 4. Okay, and just discuss this for a few minutes. When and why, when and where do we present the concept of guru? And do we present Prabhupada, or do we present our current gurus or our own guru?
My question is, when it is the Prabhupada comes first. Or without presenting Guru or Prabhupada, we will talk about
Prabhupada comes, the Guru is there.
He is taking on life. That's why I asked.
But they say when we are first time talking to somebody, subject matter, yes, so we must basically let Prabhupada basically is not work.
When the discussion
In life, it's not so it's somebody is important, but if someone wants to connect, most people Prabhupada is that first question. That may be
all of them otherwise, without why we have
we discussed all these questions. First thing is that whether we need to do it. Definitely.
basic principle. Without first of all, expose the people. Well-versed, prominent example.
If I say Vasisika Prabhu, people will not
Whenever someone sees these persons in Prabhupada, first point, perfect example. If somebody is like perfectly close to you, he misses this.
Now we need I mean, if you really want to put it, we need to
speak to that person. That's first and foremost principle of accepting the is from when it strikes to
Okay, I want you to take another minute or two and kind of wrap up your thoughts. Okay, let's just another 30 seconds or so, and we'll come back into our group. Okay, let's reform back to our main group and hear what you concluded. So, some members of our group, what did you think? Do we present the concept of guru when we're preaching to new people?
Yes.
No, yes?
Yes, yes.
Yes, no.
Definitely they should preach about the concept of guru, because what make difference Iskcon from the other sampradaya is parampara. If you don't say about parampara and guru, people will not get attracted to you, because our whole thing is based on the parampara system.
Okay, what?
Introducing as a guru is Prabhupada first.
Okay, well, all right, we'll go to that in a minute. So, other thoughts? You said no, why?
Yeah, the reason is when a new devotee comes into the temple, they're curious about what we are doing. First in the temple, we wanted to know about the deities and we wanted to know about the founder Acharya. But we just talk about the founder Acharya and we give them the books, but not about teaching them the whole philosophy.
Depends on
Okay.
how much receptive they are. I mean, we don't know what, you know.
Okay, so we have a little different, they're saying depends upon the person, what they're ready for, but in the beginning, maybe you don't right in the beginning. What do others think?
Depends.
Depends.
If you're handing out books, on Middle Avenue or something, and you can get somebody to say, wow, thank you, give me the Bhagavad Gita, I'll read it. That's a good start. They've read the book and you're going to go,
Yeah.
they'll get everything in that book that they can, Iskcon centers and all, and they'll read them. They like that much, they'll go on, come to the center.
Okay.
They'll get through sooner or later.
Okay, so it seems to be an idea of some of you that maybe it's not the first thing we present, right? In other words, depending upon the person and the situation, if you just hand them a book or you just walk in the door, it might not be your first sentence to them. But at some point to talk about the concept of guru, because as Govinda was saying, it is very essential. So when a person, maybe you talked a little longer, or they're coming around a little bit, they're more receptive, and you are going to present the idea of guru, who do you present first? Everybody agree with that pretty much? Okay, you first present Srila Prabhupada. Now, of course, if a person comes to the temple, sometimes it's pretty hard not to present Srila Prabhupada, because he's right there on the Vyasa-san, is, very as big, literally as big as life, life-size Murti, is Srila Prabhupada. So, yes, so we often do present Srila Prabhupada. When would we present the idea of other current gurus, our own guru? When they're more inquisitive? You're talking about the Guru Parampara? Yeah, it might be sometime. Yeah, because eventually they're going to want to know about the process. And you find sometimes they ask that question, right? About, you talk about Prabhupada, they say, oh, well, can I take an issue of Prabhupada? So no, you would explain the system or the process to them. What about presenting your own guru?
Sometimes they ask questions, you explain very nicely about Prabhupada. Can you explain more about your guru? What are your
Okay.
activities?
Okay, so obviously if somebody asks you, that'd be very appropriate. You can talk about your experience with your guru. Do you find there's a way that you can talk about your guru in such a way that it doesn't mean that they have to accept your guru, but they understand by your example the concept of guru and how you came to your guru and how valuable and beneficial that was in your life, right? So we can present it that way of, the value and what it meant to me. It's always good to talk about your personal experience and realization. Doesn't mean that they have to take the same guru, but they can understand the benefit of the guru from your relationship with your guru. That seem clear? Okay. All right. What are the benefits that we promote Srila Prabhupada first as a founder Acharya? What would be some of the benefits? How would that be beneficial? How would that help?
He's the ultimate example.
Good, because he's the example. What?
We have books that we can.
Yes, obviously, because he's the author of the books that they're going to be reading. So we promote Srila Prabhupada, and here are his books. It's almost like if you just say, oh, here's some books to read, it's not going to be so inspiring to people, is it, if they don't understand the qualities and the position of the author, right? They say, and these were written by Srila Prabhupada, who is, and then we can tell them who Srila Prabhupada is, which makes him a very authoritative person, why they'd want to read these books. Yeah, good point. Anything else? About what are the advantages of presenting Srila Prabhupada first?
Easy to connect.
It's easy.
We are so comfortable talking about Prabhupada.
Yeah. You can be very comfortable. You can freely glorify Srila Prabhupada, and people can accept Srila Prabhupada. There just really aren't any, how to say this? There's no downside. There's nothing negative. There's no, there's nothing objectionable. There's nothing that would make people, not be favorable. In other words, telling about Srila Prabhupada only will attract people and bring people. Right.
We cannot fall short of words. We know so much about Prabhupada, so we can talk.
And we know a lot about Prabhupada. We can say a lot. It's something that, everybody knows something about Prabhupada. Yeah, right. That's a very good point.
It's actually easy approach.
It's easy approach, yeah. Let's see.
He's writing the company book.
Yeah. Now, and the other thing is, what about, we all know there'll be a time when someone, if they continue as a devotee, they'll need to choose their own guru. And so then there'll be some question, what guru should you take? But everybody can present Prabhupada, right? In other words, that's the unifying force. So that's a really good place to start, isn't it? Okay, so how would we present then the idea of our current guru? What would be an appropriate way to talk about your guru or the current or other current gurus?
When we talk about gurus, basically once we talk about the concept of guru, you need to also, if you explain, because if the person to whom we are talking is very in that depth and he's not inquisitive, then we have to look for someone. When we talk of guru, we say that he has to be living.
Yeah.
And when he has to be living, he cannot be Prabhupada or whoever else. He has to be some guru, whom we can connect to this knowledge.
Okay. Now let's go to our other favorite word, inappropriate. What would be inappropriate ways to present your guru to a new person? What would be ways that would not be so good? Overpromise. Yes, yeah, sure. Say something that's central. Comparing to others. Yeah, have you ever seen that or ever heard anyone do that? Yeah, it's not really good, is it? It's not good Vaishnava etiquette. Comparing like, this guru, he's better because he does this and he's that. Yeah, that would be a very, very poor way. Because what if somebody else has that guru and and you're like, it's almost like you're criticizing their guru, and that's like it hurt their faith, right? Okay. What else might be an inappropriate way to present the guru?
The newcomers there seems to be sincere in Krishna consciousness, and immediately you come up with your guru's photo, and okay, now you start worshipping him and
okay.
Connected.
Yeah, very specifically that you're kind of really pushing your guru. Okay, here you are. You can, start right off. Yeah, here's up on our mantras. Yeah, you're all set to go, good to go. You're connected with my guru. What's wrong with that? Connecting with a guru. Not giving any choice, right? And what if later that person has some concern or doubt? I know that I've had that experience. One lady in Birmingham, Alabama, she had gone to she visited Atlanta with the devotees, and the disciples of one guru were kind of like just it's almost like they grab her, sign her up, here, just like you said, almost. Okay, here's your guru, and so she was okay. But then later she started becoming attracted to another guru, and then she became very confused. She was actually in great anxiety when she came to talk to me. She was in great stress because she sort of almost not by force, but almost like persuaded to make she wasn't initiated, but to make a commitment to one guru, and then she was thinking, maybe I don't want to, and maybe I want to take this other guru, and she didn't know what to do. And of course I told her it's 100% your free choice, you have to follow your heart, on who you want to take as your guru. I said they're both good choices, there's no problem, it's, you decide who and she actually ended up staying with that original guru after she really thought about it, that she did want to take him, and she did. She got initiated. So it worked out, but it caused her a lot of undue anxiety and stress because of the inappropriate pushing of those disciples of that guru. Okay?
Is it like most of the people have anxiety because Shiksha Guru has one guru and you're connected to another guru, and there will be a lot of anxiety there?
Anxiety if who has one guru and who has the other?
Your Shiksha Guru.
Your Shiksha guru.
Yeah.
Oh, kind of pushing one guru or connected with?
But the Shiksha Guru has one guru, but you are attracted to another guru.
Oh, okay, that's a good point. Theoretically, it shouldn't be a problem. I mean, should your Shiksha guru be a senior disciple of your guru? Doesn't have to. Not necessarily. Sometimes they are. They may be, but it's not necessary. And in fact, if the person is really a good Shiksha guru, giving good instruction, they won't push you in that way. They won't make you feel uncomfortable or anxious. They should be encouraging you to follow who you want. Okay. Any other ways that you can think of, maybe ever seen or heard, or think of ways that might be inappropriate in presenting your guru to others?
Thing is that sometimes some devotees or practitioners, we can say, they become a little bit senior, and they start to form their own group. Oh, I'm taking initiation from this spiritual master. So he tried to make judgment that, okay, these are quite sincere, let them drag to my group. So like that, they create their own group in temple itself, and that creates a total havoc. As you said, that if that is not from the heart and that relation, then it might get changed and they go to other, and this whole thing, they boycott that person totally. Like now he's not interested, so he's taking that. So that mature understanding should be established with the leaders or preachers so that can care.
This is a very essential point that he's talking about, and it's actually part of the subject of the next lesson. In 13, we're going to talk about that because it's very important, and it's a real concern. It's a very real issue. Yeah, so we're going to address that. That's an important one. We're just kind of finishing this up on presenting the guru. I think that's pretty clear. Also, could there be other ways that might be inappropriate? Like, what about like over-exaggerating the guru, or saying all these? You could just start. I mean, I don't think it would happen a lot, but it's possible. Disciples could just start making all kinds of claims about how their guru is so much better than everyone else's, and this and that, and like that. So those things we want to avoid. Okay, we talked about this, appropriate ways and inappropriate ways of presenting the guru, possible consequence. What happens if we would inappropriately present Iskcon gurus? What's the downside of that?
You're pushing away other good devotees, things like that.
Yeah, I mean, people could become discouraged, and and you could have division. What else? Yeah.
People will come to know. You cannot hide it. It's inappropriate.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. And what do you say? Okay, they might actually become not inclined to come because everyone's fighting over their gurus. They might just say, I don't want to be part of this. Everybody's saying my guru goes, but they just may say, I'm not even going to do it. I'm going somewhere else. What are you going to say in the back?
Everybody does it in a different way, but the main thing is the mission. When we say, oh, this guru is better, or this is my guru, everybody should create fragmentation, personality of the guru versus
Yeah. Causing fragmentation in our movement because you have a group. It's a little bit like with what was been said before. Different groups, they have just focusing on their guru rather than the whole mission. Right? Yeah, that can all happen. All right. Okay, now here's a few rules that are in Iskcon law. You may or may not know these, but they are in somewhere. I think a lot of them on page 59 here. Okay, so be aware of. Can someone read?
Disciples of Iskcon Diksha and Diksha Guru should not wear or publicly display Guru t-shirts, posters, lead bag buttons, athletic caps, etc. other than Srila Prabhupada. Iskcon law recommendation 6.4.8.
Okay, so in other words, to avoid this groupism and avoid fragmentation and like competitiveness, it's just been out sort of like, no, we just won't have it. So no T-shirts, no buttons, no posters, because you could just see it almost become like a political campaign or something, you know. Okay, someone else read.
Photographs of Iskcon Diksha and Diksha Gurus privately in their ashram corners, but are not to display them publicly on Iskcon devices. Promoting occasional special preaching events may be an
Okay, so there shouldn't be, prominent, there shouldn't be prominent displays, pictures of one particular guru in a temple. In other words, let's say that most of the disciples, most of the devotees were disciples of one guru in his temple, so we just put pictures of him all over on all the walls, and everybody, this is his temple. No, that would be against this idea. Promoting occasional special preaching events, you said might be an exception. In other words, so Maharaj is coming and doing a seminar. Sure, then we put a picture up or a poster or something because they're doing a particular event. But it's not like you're promoting them all the time as the guru. Websites. Someone read?
The Iskcon Center officials shall be responsible to ensure that any and all websites published by the center prominently feature a picture of Srila Prabhupada on the introductory page. This picture should be larger than any other individual's photos, such as the GBC, center president, or guru. Srila Prabhupada should be addressed by his formal name, entitled His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness.
Note this, because this is very important. Prabhupada actually insisted on this, that when on a sign or a letterhead, when his name was, he wanted to be the full title. Just like this, Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, he always wanted to be founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Right? This was Prabhupada's instruction. And so, obviously on websites or anything else, we feature Srila Prabhupada prominently and not put other gurus, something like that. All right. So what about if the guru has his own website? You should still put Srila Prabhupada's picture on it, right? Any official of this kind of website should feature Srila Prabhupada, even if the website is more about the activities of the preaching of another guru, which is perfectly fine for them to have a website and where their followers can, see what they're doing and probably download their classes and all that. That's fine. Okay. Sometimes it's been a problem. Why would these not be followed sometimes? Pretty simple answer. Negligence, or disciples just get carried away with promoting the guru and don't think about these other considerations. And what would happen if we do this? If we didn't make Prabhupada the center on all of our pictures and displays and websites and like that? If I'd be able to click, Roman guru. And what about the position of Prabhupada? Becomes diminished, right? Right. So what are appropriate ways to display your guru's photo? Where can you put your guru's photo? On your own altar, in your home or your ashram, yeah. And in other words, not in the temple, but in your home, certainly. Your home altar, completely appropriate. And we mentioned yesterday, of course, if you're a pujari and you're doing the artik or whatever, you put your guru's picture on the altar while you're doing the artik, and then you remove it. Right? Okay. 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 You guys doing all right? You need a break? You do need a break? Okay. A few minutes. We'll try to do it really quickly. All right. I can be back in 8 minutes. It's because we're only going to go till another hour and a half or so. It's assessment. All right. So back at 11:20.
हे रामानुज हे जगत्रय गुरु हे पुंडरीकाक्षमा हे गोपी जनानाथ पालय परम परम भक्तापाय भुजङ्गकारुणमणि त्रैलोक्य रक्षामणि गोपीलोचन चातकाम्बुदमणि सौन्दर्यमुद्रामणि यत्कान्तामणि रुक्मिणी घनभुजद्वन्द्वैकभूषामणि देवशिखामणि दिशतु गोपाल चूड़ामणि शत्रुच्छेदैकमन्त्रम् शत्रुच्छेदैकमन्त्रम् सकलमुपनिषद्वाक्य सम्पूज्यमन्त्रम् संसारोद्धारमन्त्रम् समुपचिततमः सङ्घनिर्याणमन्त्रम् सर्वैश्वर्यैकमन्त्रम् व्यसनभुजग सन्तष्ट सन्त्राणमन्त्रम् जिह्वे श्रीकृष्णमन्त्रम् जप जप सततम् जन्म साफल्यमन्त्रम् व्यामोह प्रशमोषधम् व्यामोह प्रशमोषधम् मुनिमनोवृत्ति प्रवृत्त्यौषधम् दैत्येन्द्रार्तिकरौषधम् त्रिजगतां सञ्जीवनैकौषधम् भक्तात्यन्तहितौषधम् भवभयप्रध्वंसनैकौषधम् इतरौषधम् पिब मनः श्रीकृष्णदिव्यौषधम् पिब मनः श्रीकृष्णदिव्यौषधम् आम्नायाभ्यसनान्यरण्यरुदितम् वेदव्रता आम्नायाभ्यसनान्यरण्यरुदितम् वेदव्रतान्यन्वहम् मेदश्छेदफलानि पूर्तविधयः सर्वे हुतं भस्मनि तीर्थानामवगाहनानि च गजस्नानं विना यत्पदद्वन्द्वाम्भोरुह संस्मृति विजयते यत्पदद्वन्द्वाम्भोरुह संस्मृति विजयते देवः स नारायणः देवः स नारायणः श्रीमन्नाम प्रोच्य नारायणाख्यम् श्रीमन्नाम प्रोच्य नारायणाख्यम् केन प्रापुर्वाञ्छितं पापिनो केन प्रापुर्वाञ्छितं पापिनो हानः पूर्वं वाक्प्रवृत्ता न तस्मिन् हानः
It's our background music.
वाक्प्रवृत्ता न तस्मिन् तेन प्राप्तं गर्भवासादिदुःखम् तेन प्राप्तं गर्भवासादिदुःखम् मज्जन्मनः फलमिदं मधुकैटभाति मत्प्रार्थनीयमदनुग्रहये त्वद्भृत्य भृत्य परिचारक भृत्य भृत्य भृत्यस्य भृत्य इति माम् त्वद्भृत्य भृत्य परिचारक भृत्य भृत्य भृत्यस्य भृत्य इति माम् स्मर लोकनाथ नाथेन पुरुषोत्तमे जगतामेकाधिपे चेतसा नाथेन पुरुषोत्तमे त्रिजगतामेकाधिपे चेतसा सेव्ये स्वस्य पदस्य दातरि सुरे नारायणे तिष्ठति यं कञ्चित् पुरुषाधमं कतिपयग्रामेशमल्पार्थदम् यं कञ्चित् पुरुषाधमं कतिपयग्रामेशमल्पार्थदम् सेवायै मृगयामहे नरमः मूढा वरागावयम् मदन परिहर स्थितिं मदीये मनसि मुकुन्द हरनयन कृशानुना कृशोऽसि स्मरसि न चक्रपराक्रमं मुरारे स्मरसि न चक्रपराक्रमं मुरारे तत्त्वं ब्रुवाणानि परं परस्मात् मधुक्षरन्तीव सदा फलानि प्रावर्तय प्राञ्जलिरस्मि जिह्वे प्रावर्तय प्राञ्जलिरस्मि जिह्वे नामानि नारायण इदं शरीरं परिणामते पतत्यवश्यं श्रद्धसन्निजज्जरम् किमौषधैः क्लिश्यसि मूढदुर्मते निरामयम् कृष्णरसा निरामयम् कृष्णरसायनम् तारावाराकरसुता ते तनूजो स्तोता वेदः गणो भृत्यवर्गः आदः मुक्तिः माया जगदविकलं तावकी देवकी मित्रं बलरिपुसुतः त्वय्यतो यत् न जानासि त्वय्यतो यत् न जानासि कृष्णो रक्षतु नो जगत्त्रय गुरुः कृष्णं नमस्यामि कृष्णो रक्षतु नो जगत्त्रय गुरुः कृष्णं नमस्यामि
There's a team building scene outside. Yeah, there's something somewhere. It's hard water inside. Cut down.
कृष्णादेव समुद्रितं जगदिदं
At least you got desire. That's the first initiative.
कृष्णादेव समुद्रितं जगदिदं कृष्णस्य दासो कृष्णे तिष्ठति सर्वमेतदखिलं हे कृष्ण रक्षस्व माम्
It's 15 minutes.
हे कृष्ण रक्षस्व माम्
What happened to 10 minutes? 10 minutes is over.
It's 15.
Okay, now it's 15. Hare Krishna, everybody please return. We need to start, otherwise you're going to be here late today, it's up to you. Well, I'm going to start. Okay, Hare Krishna. Yes, question. Oh,
I put one question in the test from here. We had assessment together.
oh, yeah,
Put a question from you.
okay. Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll come on this assessment. Okay, so let's just kind of review here and finish this up. What would be some ways that would not be appropriate to present the guru or present your own guru? What were some of those again?
Inappropriate.
Inappropriate. Yeah, what are ways that we don't present our own guru or current gurus?
Like always glorifying our own Guru than the Prabhupada while
Yeah.
teaching or giving the philosophy.
Yeah, over glorification. What about if you were giving class, you get a Bhagavatam class, and you just spoke about your guru the whole time? You know, that wouldn't be appropriate, right? In other words, you don't just glorify your guru or just what he said, his pastimes, what he did, and this and that. But you might mention, you know, if there was an example or something that was relevant, of course you could say, but you don't go on and on and on. You know, generally, our main example that we use is Prabhupada, of course, when we're preaching, Prabhupada's words and his instructions, and that is, of course, fine. So we don't over glorify or over speak about just the pastimes of our own guru. What else would be inappropriate? Ways of presenting our guru. Okay, what about clothing, bead bags, buttons, banners, posters, balloons? No, none of the above. Okay.
I think especially in Western culture, we're very fan-based. We
Uh-huh.
put people on pedestals like movie stars and that.
Exactly.
Because we don't, like in Britain, they have the royal family.
Yeah.
So we make idols out of
Right.
entertainers.
Yeah. So we want to make sure we don't do that with the guru. You know, it just becomes like there's a popularity kind of. Also, in presenting the guru, some of you mentioned things like not presenting in a comparative way, like, well, my guru does this, or mine's better in this way, mine has more disciples, you know, mine gets bigger, better kirtan, mine's better looking, you know, any of that. So we don't make comparisons like that. We talked about, what else? What about if you're doing Bhakti Vriksha programs or home programs? Would it be all right then to just promote your guru to new people that are coming? No. No, you should, again, promote, you know, leave that open. You can promote the concept of guru. In fact, you should, especially as people are learning about Krishna consciousness. They need to learn about the necessity of taking a guru. And of course, we have to let them know there are these gurus that are available. You know, but we don't promote a particular single guru so much. What about books? What about if and you know, many senior devotees, gurus and others are writing books now, write their own books, just fine. Prabhupada encouraged his disciples to write books. What would be appropriate or inappropriate in promoting or selling our guru's books? You think,
Without putting Prabhupada's books along with it.
okay, without saying Prabhupada's? What were you going to say? Okay, wait a minute. I'm
getting close to hearing aid time. So you say that.
Just from my experience, when I saw a lecture by Tamohara, then in the end of the lecture, somebody says, "Oh, and by the way, you can get him because he doesn't come often, so you can send him or something." But it's in connection with lecture.
Okay, so somebody may suggest buying their books or going online or whatever. Is that good? Is that all right or not?
That's what I saw from my experience. Lecture, then they linked to the books, their initial.
Yeah. I guess, the question there would be,
if it was done in an appropriate way. Obviously, if someone is interested in getting books or getting books from your guru, you could tell them how to do that or how to order them or whatever, sure. But like the other point was made, we shouldn't be promoting the books of our guru above and beyond Srila Prabhupada's. In other words, what if you came to a temple where most of the disciples were of a certain guru, and you saw in the bookstore, and you saw the book racks over there, and everything was at guru's, and maybe in a little corner there's a little Bhagavad Gita or something of Srila Prabhupada's, right? That wouldn't be right. So in other words, Prabhupada should be prominent, and alongside we can also no harm, selling other books, right? But it's a question of emphasis and promotion, Do we have it in a balanced way? Let me see if there are any other points here. We talked about pictures. Okay, and we talked about, greeting we talked about it yesterday, what's appropriate for greeting a guru or how it's done in the temple and outside the temple, that kind of thing. Okay, websites. We talk about websites, talk about photos. Okay. We're up to our last unit, last lesson. Relationships within Iskcon, discrimination on the basis of guru and developing cooperative relationships. Important issues that we're going to end with. And we were starting to get a little bit into that. We were talking about some of these things, and we're going to continue that discussion. The first point of the lesson is called discrimination based upon guru. Now here is a dictionary definition, or a section of a sociology book. Can someone read this?
Discrimination is a prejudicial treatment of an individual based solely on their membership in a certain group or category. It involves excluding or restricting members of one group from opportunities that are available to other groups.
Is that clear to everybody? Discrimination, what it means? Okay. Here's what Lord Krishna, or Lord Vishnu said. Someone read?
The Supreme Personality of Godhead, my dear sons of God, I am very much pleased by the friendly relationships among you. All of you are engaged in one occupation, devotional service. I am so pleased with your mutual friendship that I wish you all good fortune. Now you may ask a benediction of me.
This is an interesting example with the Prachetas. In other words, because he wasn't saying specifically their service to him that was pleasing. What Lord Vishnu was saying was that their cooperation with each other was so nice, right? So that was what was most pleasing to them, that all of you are in friendly relationships among you. You're all engaged in devotional service. So he was very pleased by that friendship that they had in their relationships. So that's something to really keep in mind. This value and benefit of cooperation and working together. Okay? And that's what we want to achieve. Okay, let's talk about this idea of discrimination or making distinction based upon one's guru. Now, that doesn't mean that we necessarily never talk about one's guru or who your guru is or different gurus. There might be times when that would be all right to do. So what would be some of those examples? When might we make some distinction regarding with a devotee about who their guru was?
Definitely, let's say, for example, if you're doing a Vyas Puja and all those, you may like to have your own God.
Okay, there might be natural times, you might have events such as Vyas Puja, or maybe, a meeting, maybe the guru is visiting, would be of more interest to the God brothers and God sisters. So yeah, so then you might make some distinction. Okay, we're all, disciples of this guru, so we might get together and be more interested. Sure, that makes sense. That's logical. What else? Okay, then, but how would that have to do with other devotees? How you would make distinction?
Like if some guru really emphasize on group distribution,
Hmm.
we call their devotees, their disciples to come together and do that.
Okay, so you might work more with that group of disciples because they're more in tune with the common mission of the guru. Okay. What about just I don't know, how many Christian dasas are there, or Radharani dasis? Or, in other words, sometimes we make a distinction just based upon identifying a devotee, right? Like their names. There might be many with the same name. Even in the PAMHO network or email site, a lot of devotees use it. It's called PAMHO. Anyway, they usually identify the devotees by the initials of their guru, because there might be so many Vishnu dasas or whatever. So it might say, for Prabhupada they say ACB, yes, Albi Charan, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, and then each guru would have like initial, like I don't know.
Dot RNS, dot LOK, like that.
Yeah.
The name of an individual person and then.
Like what's Radha Swami's?
RNS.
RNS, right. So in other words, you'd have the name of the devotee, then you'd have some initial for the spiritual master. And that's just for distinguishing them. Just so we know who's who, which one it is. Just
Actually, their names also get repeated when they give initiation.
names get repeated. Yeah.
It will be difficult. In same congregation, you may find two Sham Sundar Das and
Yeah.
Radhika Devi Dasi. Then you have to discriminate them. Okay, he's from.
Right. And so there's some natural times. Here's some of the things that, differentiate. Also, there's differentiation between Prabhupada disciples and new disciples. In other words, you might make some distinction of someone with Prabhupada disciple, right? Just in terms of offering respect. Distinguish identity of disciples, the same name, which we just talked about. There might be concerns, like you mentioned, of Yaspuj or something that were just of interest to one disciple group. And obviously, you may feel some natural affinity to God brothers and God sisters. That's natural, right? Just like in a family, and we're all part of one family, but, you might have little other groups in the family that, people feel naturally closer to people who have the same spiritual master. It's just kind of a natural thing. Doesn't mean you discriminate against others or you don't make friendships with others, but, you might have some feeling there. Okay, so then what would be some of the, if we do have, well, let's see. Okay, well, this doesn't make sense. All right, what's the opposite of it? What would be inappropriate ways to discriminate? What would be some ways that wouldn't be good to discriminate between disciples of one guru and disciples of another?
Let's not call them for the home program because they're from the other.
Yeah, you have a program, but you only have it for one group of disciples and you don't invite the others. Yeah, that could happen. Sure. What are some other inappropriate ways of discriminating? What? Allocation of service. Yeah, who gets the service? Yeah, especially if, say if the temple authorities were this. When I was taking the course in Mayapur, there were a lot of devotees from India there, and they were all saying this really happens a lot in India. They say if one guru is prominent, then those disciples will get the services, or they'll get the promotion, or they'll get the position. They said there's a lot of that. A lot of the devotees discriminate. They'll bring one of my god brothers in to be the vice president or whatever. So that's really inappropriate. It's really wrong. But that happen. It does happen. So be aware of that. Yeah. Anything else? Is there another idea? Yes, we're more advanced. We're the real devotees. That used to happen back in the old, like, I remember the devotees like in New Vrindavan back in the 60s and 70s, they always thought, well, we're more advanced than the other devotees. We're more austere, we're more, we're doing the real austerity. We're the real bhaktas, yeah. I guess because they had to go down to the river and break the ice and take a shower throwing cold water, they had to, in that sense, they probably were more advanced. But anyway, yeah, sometimes that attitude can come. And that attitude could come, well, my guru does this and this and that, and so therefore, we're at a higher level, or I heard a devotee. I was in Manipur, and it was some devotees were having a Vyasa Puja celebration for their spiritual master. He wasn't there. And this one speaker was saying, and we know that our guru had deeper realizations, than the other devotees, like than the other, gurus and so on. He was just saying, he was really saying, we know that our guru is really better. He's more spiritually advanced. I thought, wow, that is so wrong. So this goes on. These things do go on. We have to be careful. And that's one of the reasons now we're having these classes, for disciples, so that these kind of attitudes don't get promoted like that. First of all, what business do you have to say that? How can he judge the advancement of other gurus? How can you even make that judgment? Anyway. So, I don't know. Probably not. They probably all were cheering him on. I don't know. I didn't bother to get into it, but it's a spiritual master who's left his body, so he's not going to do anything. There wasn't much to do about it. Anyway, okay. So we have to be careful about these things and keep them in the proper perspective. Have you ever experienced this yourself? Have you ever experienced any where you've seen either yourself or somebody else where there was some discrimination on the basis of whose disciple somebody was? Either based upon who were initiated by or who they were aspiring for? Anyone have this experience? Yes? No? Apparently, from the devotees were telling me that it's very prominent in India. They found it. Do you think? Yeah. It can really. They all had a story. They all had an experience to share about.
Actually, when you are in touch with different spiritual masters, they are very accommodative to guide disciples. Like, even though I was initiated by Radhanath Maharaj, I was in service with Loknath Swami Maharaj, Kishore Maharaj. I helped them for their projects. They gave me chances, so they gave initiative.
Yeah.
They gave responsibilities. Okay, you take care of.
Yeah.
Even some of the Javadaka Maharaj's projects also. They encouraged. Okay, come. We want.
So you have the other opposite experience.
It's wonderful.
That you actually were encouraged by others. Well, that's good. Doesn't always happen. That's good.
And even devotees, most of them, they think that I'm not a disciple of Radha, I'm a disciple of him. That much intimate connection we can establish. It's wonderful.
Yeah. So that's the appropriate way. That's how it should be. That we work together, that we encourage other devotees, we encourage no matter whose disciple they are, they work together like that. And some temples it's an issue, some it's not. What can happen is, have you heard this expression of guru groupism? Or sometimes it's like groupies, it's like where all the disciples of one guru, they kind of get together and they're like a little clique and they think, we're really special. And in some temples it's very strong. Like I know some temples which are not unnamed at the moment, but there's like 5, Bhakti Vriksha groups are, everybody's where, outside like home programs where people meet in their homes every week. And usually there's a more senior person kind of conducting the programs and they're learning about Krishna consciousness. They have, class and chanting and prasadam and they're, it's very nice. They're getting together in their homes and they become advanced in Krishna consciousness. However, like in this one city, there's 4 Bhakti Vriksha groups and the 4 leaders are 4 different disciples. And everybody knows, this group, that group, that group, and they basically, anyone who comes into that group, they take initiation when they're ready from that disciple, from that guru. So, it could be like that, where it's very sectarian, and a temple president drives him crazy. He says, we got to do something, so we're trying to, preach to them, and they all need to take the disciples course, I think, or something, I had that experience. We had a couple who were doing a Bhakti Riksha group in Florida, and, but they were, working, and I would sometimes go, and do programs, and I would give classes with that group, and they were up in Jacksonville, and they were driving. One time we were all going to go, and I was going to the program, and this couple was going to drive me to Jacksonville. I thought, this is a great opportunity I have. Because I heard this about that they were promoting their guru. It's too much. And so I said, okay, I'm going to use this opportunity to, So before I could say anything, he started talking. They had just taken this course. They'd taken the disciples course, not to become initiated, but because actually the temple president there said you should take it because you're preaching to new people. It's good for you to learn this. And the lady says to me, I just realized I'm doing this all wrong. She said, this isn't what we're supposed to do doing. I shouldn't be just promoting my guru. I should really let it open and let people become who they're. And I didn't have to say a word. She was completely. She got the whole thing. And because she was very sincere and intelligent, she understood. And so the whole thing changed. And that's actually after it wasn't my class. Someone else gave the class, but from this class, she learned that, and really changed that. So now it's much more open, and they just talk about all the gurus and whoever anybody is attracted to. Right. What's that?
India, there is something so this temple comes under so and so Maharaj or so and so CDC.
Yeah.
So any other Maharaj or any other Krishna giving guru should not be given the initiation. Only that Maharaj should be given initiation. That's something like a rule.
Yeah. So, that's actually against Iskcon law, but it does go on sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like it should be. Everyone here takes it. And sometimes you find that where, especially you have a very strong guru, and especially if it's GBC in a place, and then a lot of the devotees are disciples, and just naturally everyone kind of takes, which is all right if it's natural. If in other words, sometimes just through association. We were just talking about this. I was talking with one of the devotees here. If just by association that you're seeing a particular guru because they come to that place and you're attracted to them, and others of your mentors and seniors also are then that's fine if it's a natural thing. Because it's going to happen. If someone is preaching in an area and they're making devotees, then often it's natural they might become a guru. It's not like, well, this person's here preaching to me, but I have to look all around the world for somebody else. No, it is not. That's artificial also. So if it's a natural thing where it comes about from your contact with the spiritual master and they're preaching and you're seeing them, and others are also, then that's fine. Okay. All right. If this developed where it became these very strong groups of gurus, guru groups, not for the gurus. By the way, I used to find it's not the gurus that promote this, it's the disciples. In fact, I know some gurus who are really against it and they're always trying to keep their disciples from doing this, So, but if it continued, what might happen to Iskcon? If we have this, so many Iskcons. It could break up into an Iskcon for every guru, right? In other words, this group and they don't work together, right? And they just promote their own guru, and so now you got 50 movements. Would Prabhupada be pleased with that? No, because Prabhupada told us so many times that if we work together cooperatively, that is how we will be successful in this preaching mission. All right. I'm not going to do that. And what's the opposite? if we have cooperation amongst all groups, what's likely to happen?
We really have the 10,000 years of Sankirtan.
10,000 years of same movement, make the whole world Krishna conscious. Ki jai. Okay. Yes, yes. What are some ways that we can act cooperatively with other disciples? Anything, just practically speaking. Let's say you're in a temple and there's disciples from 6, 8 different gurus. What are ways that we can work cooperatively? Make Prabhupada a sinner, yes. That's one real good way, glorify Prabhupada. What else?
As staying in a temple full time, one should have a clear idea about principles that we should follow, being a follower of Prabhupada.
Yeah.
If you are clear in that, then there will be a coordination with the cooperation.
Yeah. Okay, clarity and understanding the principles of serving Prabhupada, cooperating with Prabhupada, being part of that movement. What about, how should I act with other disciples? Learn from them?
Masters.
Be humble. Have relationships, right? Develop relationships, have friendships. Friendships with all, I couldn't quite hear.
Moral support.
Moral support, yeah. To help one another, Krishna consciousness, yeah.
Ask each other about our guru.
Ask about their guru rather than just push your guru. That's a good point, isn't it? Yeah, find out about their guru and their relationship, and how they're inspired by their guru. And they might have some nice pastime or story that then also inspires you. Very good. Okay. In other words, these 6 loving exchanges amongst devotees that we perform to help bring us together are not just for my group of disciples, of my spiritual masters, but they're all devotees, and we're all part of Prabhupada's family. You have to remember that. Okay? Somebody read?
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself wanted our cooperation. He is God, Krishna, and therefore cooperation is very important thing. Nobody should think that I have got so great ability I can do. No, it is simply by cooperation we can do very big things. United we stand, divided we fall. So be strong in pushing on Krishna consciousness and Krishna will help. He is the strongest. Still we must be combined together. Conversation March 16, 1976.
Again, with emphasis on combining together in cooperation. And this is one of these famous quotes of Srila Prabhupada at the bottom here. Your love for me will be shown by how much you cooperate to keep this institution together after I am gone. So that was Prabhupada's desire. He said that is how we show love for him. That we work together and we keep this Iskcon institution together. Okay. Jai Prabhupada. It's the flower, isn't it? I think he's holding a flower.
Roses.
A rose, looks like a rose. Yep, oops, sorry. Okay. Okay, but chapter 14, conclusion roundup, that's really just a summary and concluding with that. We're really finished with most of what we have to cover, and we're right on time. Now, do you want 10 minutes to do a little review here? Would that be important to you? Okay. I actually have the assessment, the quiz in my hands, so I'm looking through this, seeing what you should be knowing. Okay. So I'll ask you some questions. How many Diksha Gurus do you have? How many Shiksha Gurus? Many. Okay. Should the Shiksha Guru be a disciple of your Guru? Doesn't have to be. Okay. Can't read it. What is the most important qualification of the Diksha Guru? Transparent via media. That he's in parampara. Does the spiritual master need to be a pure devotee or liberated devotee?
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily. What does he have to do if he's not liberated? In parampara, giving the message of his spiritual master and Lord Krishna purely, right? Okay. Does the Shiksha Guru give one spiritual name? Who does? Okay. Does the Shiksha Guru instruct one in spiritual knowledge?
Yes.
Does the Shiksha Guru assist in delivering the disciples? Assist. Yeah. Who is the primary Diksha Guru? But the Shiksha also assists informally in the process. Okay. Give me some reasons why we reject the Ritvik philosophy that one can accept Prabhupada as his guru after his departure. It's not in Shastra. You have to have a living guru. What else? There are any examples in our Sampradaya? No. No history, no example? Not yet. Yeah. What does it imply about Prabhupada if none of his disciples are qualified to become gurus?
Minimizing Prabhupada.
It's minimizing Prabhupada's potency and ability. He can't make any disciples who can continue. What's that?
Can you repeat the question, please?
The question was, what is wrong with Ritvik philosophy? You know, why do we reject Ritvik philosophy that one doesn't need to have a living guru, that one can just take Prabhupada directly as their guru? Okay. What are the three sources of Guru Padashraya? Prabhupada, Shiksha, and Diksha. Okay. Is a Shiksha relationship always a formalized relationship? Formal and informal, yes. If one had a formal relationship as one with one's Shiksha Guru, should one ask permission from the Diksha Guru? Actually, one should if it's a formal relationship. If you're going to be taking really primary Shiksha from someone else, then one should ask the Diksha Guru. And informal, not necessary, probably. Right. We didn't really talk about that so much. So, yeah. How does Prabhupada function as the founder Acharya? And then when I say that, I mean beyond the fact that he's a pure devotee and like that, but how is he specifically, what did he do to that he's the founder Acharya of the Iskcon movement? 7 principles, set up the administrative structure, establish temples, set the standards, the books, the standard books that we all read, the dress and things like that. Establish the regular principles, chanting, all the standards. The philosophy, basic philosophy is given to us by Srila Prabhupada. He's the only one called as divine grace, yes. Okay, do we offer daily Guru Puja in the temple room? Can we offer daily Guru Puja in the temple room for current gurus? Can we for Srila Prabhupada? Yes, obviously. Where can we offer Guru Puja to current gurus? In homes or somewhere outside of the temple room, yeah. During when? Vyas Puja, yes, during Vyas Puja, one can offer full Guru Puja to the spiritual master in the temple room. Okay. Do we offer Guru Puja during a public preaching program? No. Okay. Can only Srila Prabhupada's disciples write offerings for his Vyas Puja? Anybody can. Oh, you guys are good. You got this down. Okay. True or false? Because the Guru is not different from Krishna, he does not need to follow Iskcon or the GBC. False. Good. Okay. Do all current gurus follow the instructions of Iskcon and the JBC?
Yes.
Yes, if they're bona fide. True. Okay, thank you. Right. Is it all right to hear classes and take instruction from senior devotees or gurus from other Vaishnava groups, Gaudiya Vaishnava groups outside of Iskcon? No, one shouldn't. What should one make sure that when they do come, that we throw them out immediately? No. They should be given respect. Yeah. Could devotees from other groups be advanced devotees or pure devotees? It's possible, sure. Right. But we are in a difference, never mind. Okay. Is it true that one only has to strictly follow the regular principles for second initiation? No. It has to for Harinam initiation. Okay. Okay, what would be some appropriate reasons to accept one? What would be some inappropriate reasons for your selection of a guru? Inappropriate reasons. Ethnic background. Should you only take a guru who's a sannyasi? Not necessarily, no. Should you only take a guru who's of your same language and ethnic background? No. Would it be all right to take a guru because I'm inspired by their preaching and lectures and kirtan? Yes, of course. What if I'm inspired by the guru's sadhana? Sure. Okay, you get the idea.
Okay, one thing you said there isn't the Diksha Guru always sannyasi?
Yes. And no, they're not. No, the Diksha Guru does not have to be a sannyasi, they can be a householder. We have a very prominent example, Vaisheshika Prabhu. Householder. Yes, believe it or not, householders can actually be spiritually advanced. It's possible. Sometimes more difficult, but it is, yes, they can. Okay. Okay, devotional service is only service which is offered directly, personally to the guru. True or false? Okay. Is our service to the temple or to Iskcon the same as service to the guru? Yeah, I mean, well, obviously it's a little different, but different type of service, but it's all equally devotional service, right? Yeah. Okay. So if there's some disagreement between your service between guru and local authorities, who do you follow?
Local.
Yeah, local authority, and try to work it out cooperatively, right, so that both are satisfied in some way. Yeah, I said, is it true that only personal service to the guru is actually devotional service? No, anything that's serving the mission, Prabhupada, the temple is all devotional service. And it is also service to the guru, right? Okay. What does Guru Vapu mean? Serving the physical body, the person. What is Guru Vani? On the words and instructions, okay? Is service and separation, is that Guru Vapu or Guru Vani? Guru Vani. If the spiritual master is no longer there, then you're serving the words, not the physical relationship. Okay. Which is considered to be more important, Vani or Vapu? Vani. Okay. What would be some inappropriate questions to inquire from the spiritual master? Too personal, what else? Material things, questions about money or politics, things like that. Is it appropriate to talk about obstacles or problems you might be having in your spiritual life? Yes. Okay. is it appropriate if you had some concern or question or doubt about the scriptures to ask the spiritual master? Yes, of course. You want to. Right. Okay. Is it true that, generally speaking, that one should not offer obeisances when they see the spiritual master? That's obviously false. Okay, forget it. It's false. Yeah. I was trying to do that in some other way. No, okay, obviously you offer obeisances. Okay, how do we address our spiritual master? Guru Maharaj or Gurudev or Maharaj or Prabhu, if they're, I guess householder, you could say. In what mood do we address them? Very respectful, always keeping a respectful mood. Okay. True or false, it is not necessary to respect the god brothers or god sisters of the Guru. No, right. Okay. If, true or false, if a spiritual master has one fall down, he should be rejected. False. If a spiritual master has repeated fall downs and probably will not become rectified, may one reject the spiritual master? Yes. If one rejected the spiritual master, what would be that person's shelter? Prabhupada, senior devotees, and are they allowed to take reinitiation?
Yes.
Does everyone have to, or are they required to? No. Okay, good. Okay. What are some ways that are inappropriate in presenting one's spiritual master? What should one not do?
Over glorifying.
Over glorifying? What else?
Introducing him rather than the Prabhupada.
Referencing him rather than Prabhupada? What else? Only distributing their books rather than Prabhupada's books. Posters, banners, yeah. Too much pictures displayed prominently in the temple, things like that. Can you have pictures in your own home? Yes, of course. Yeah. Bead bag buttons, T-shirts, the whole bit, yeah. Probably. What about websites?
And websites, the Prabhupada should be the bigger picture.
Prabhupada should be prominent. Yeah. Good. Okay. If a visiting devotee is coming to stay at the temple and I'm in charge, should I give more preference if that person is my godbrother or godsister? No. I hope you say that. Yeah. All right. Okay. Is it better? Is it better to, so that we can have more unity, that in our temple that I only have people in the leadership only who are disciples of my guru? No. And we call that discrimination, right? Okay. Okay. All right, I think you guys are set. You want to take a few minutes to stretch, or take 5 minutes till we start, or are you ready to just jump in? Okay. Do you want to jump? Yeah, no, here we go. Okay, just, I'll go hand out. Let me just, where am I here? Okay. All right, that's everything we covered. All right, so multiple choice test, well, it's either true or false or multiple choice. Now, a lot of them will say which ones are this, like which ones are inappropriate. You can, so if there's 6 things listed, it might be 1, it might be 2, it might be all, right? So it's not just one answer, it's all that are correct. Sure you understand that. Read the question carefully, what it's asking, so you know what it's saying, whether it's true or false or whether, whatever. There's no time limit, probably won't take more than an hour. It's 21 questions. 70% is the correct passage. And with no further ado, we'll go ahead. What's the first thing you're going to do when you get your test?
Write your names on it. Otherwise, you probably aren't going to pass because I won't know who did it. Okay. When you're finished, because, by the way, people take this.
People take tests at all different rates. Some people finish everything really early and they're gone, and some people take a long time. It's okay. Doesn't matter. Don't get anxious one way or the other. But if you are finished, then just turn it in to me, and quietly you can go out and we'll be done. So since this is the last time we'll all be together, I guess I just want to thank you all so much. You've been a wonderful group. And, it's just, I think the participation's been fantastic. So thank you so much for coming. And I know it's kind of a sacrifice to take 3 days to do this. And I certainly hope this leads you all to finding your guru and taking initiation and making great spiritual advancement on the path of bhakti. Okay, so as far as I'll try to grade these all this afternoon. I'll be coming back for the Sunday feast to give a lecture. Thank you all. You're all very kind. I really appreciate your blessings and encouragement. So anyway, I'll bring them back and I'll make up the certificates. I'll try to bring them back for the Sunday feast. And if you're not here, I'll just leave it with Mother Prima DAY-3, so she'll have all the return tests and certificates of passage. And of course, let's see. Well, when you do take initiation, when you're ready at that point, which I hope many of you will be, sometime very shortly in your life, then you will need to. Well, you'll keep the list, so you'll know who took the test. Okay. Thank you again. Here they are.
It looks like it's long, but you'll see it. Everybody has got a pencil? If you make a correction, make sure that it's clear what you're writing. By the way, sometimes